everybody, what is going on? My name is MarfGaming and welcome back to another emotional sort of video. Today I'm going to be talking about another big topic, another big subject, and that is the best mobile game to ever be released. And that is, in my opinion, N.O.V.A 3, Near Orbit Vanguard Alliance 3. And what makes this game so great is everything. And I know that sounds stupid of me to say, but really, let me explain. And if you haven't played N.O.V.A 3, there is a free edition you can download. It's the same as the paid edition, just with advertisements. And if you haven't played it, you have to. I mean, it is the best campaign, the best multiplayer experience. I believe the campaign is a few hours long, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see gameplay of the campaign on screen as well. But yeah, first thing I want to talk about is the campaign. And really, no other game I've played, even on PC, even on console, has even really come close to the campaign that I have experienced on N.O.V.A 3. I believe it was the first actual AAA campaign that I completed in one sitting almost. So it definitely has a place in my heart. But I want to talk about why it's so good. And the first topic is the graphics, the scenery, the visuals. I mean, they just look awesome. You go from San Francisco all the way to I believe it's Volterite, the name of the planet. I mean, you just go all over the place, and the visuals is just stunning, and there's no lack of scenery, no lack of new things to do. There's a lot of gameplay variety. So, for example, one mission you're sniping Volterites, and then, or I'm sorry, the name of the planet is Voltron. I do apologize. But one mission you're sniping Volterites at your base, defending it, and then the next mission you're on a 4x4 shooting down, bases and all that sort of stuff, and it's really cool, really fun. And I believe this is all in one swift mission, or not necessarily mission, but one swift action, one swift event. That's what I should say. And again, the gameplay variety is off the charts. There's nothing that you do over again, if that makes sense. And there's puzzles, and there's action, and there's a lot of emotion as well. And that's kind of what I want to talk about and emphasize in this video. And I'm going to refer to examples. The first one is obviously N.O.V.A 3, and the second one is Modern Combat 5. And why I want to talk about Modern Combat 5 is because the developers who made N.O.V.A 3 are the same developers who made Modern Combat 5. And in Modern Combat 5, Phoenix, the main protagonist, is threatened by Saunders, who is the antagonist, I believe, to kill his daughter Lily. But here's the problem with that. I have no problem with that if she was tangible, if you could see her. But in Modern Combat 5, you don't even see her. All you know is that Phoenix has a daughter named Lily, and that Saunders wants to kill her, to get revenge, I think. But you have no emotional connection to that character whatsoever. So let's say you fail the campaign or whatever, and she ends up dying. I mean, you don't care. All you want to do is complete the campaign. There's really no connection you have with that character. And again, I want to touch on N.O.V.A 3 here, because there's a character in here, and sorry for the spoilers. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, please go play the game. It's awesome. But there's a character named Yelena, sort of like the Cortana, but for N.O.V.A. And pretty much what happens is she gets introduced around in the middle of the campaign. Like, you hear her voice and that she's like a robot almost. But then she actually appears physically around the middle of the campaign. And she has a physical body, and she has a character, obviously, but she speaks to you, she talks to you, and she has emotion in her voice. And again, in Modern Combat 5, you never hear Lily, you never see Lily. But in N.O.V.A, you hear her, you see her, and she interacts with you, Cal Warden, I'm sorry. She interacts, and again, what happens is she builds up character all the way to the end of the campaign. Like, she's constantly in there talking to you and all that stuff. And there's no shortage of character interaction between them. And when at the end of the campaign, again, sorry for spoilers, but she dies in a very dramatic death. But when she does die, you feel like a connection, and you feel sad, and it kind of hits you at that moment when she gets killed, because you saw her, you got used to her, she built up a character between Cal Warden and yourself, as you do play Cal Warden in this game. But again, she was there, she was tangible, and when she died, you can really feels something when she dies. And again, in Modern Combat 5, if Lily were to die, you wouldn't have seen her, you wouldn't have listened to her. And so it's kind of like if Sandra said, "Oh, Lily's dead now," you'd be like, "Okay, great, but what do I care?" But yeah, that's why I love the Nova campaign, because there's such emotion, again, visuals, the sound, everything about it is just so much better than any other game I've played. Even the Call of Duty campaigns on Xbox. I mean, those were good, but like Nova, in my opinion, was even better. And there was a sense of depth, a sense of realism almost, a sense of like, okay, you know what, this is plausible, this could happen. Um, but yeah, so that was the Nova 3 campaign, and why it's so good. And now I want to talk about the multiplayer, and that's not as big of a deal in my eyes as campaign, because multiplayer, anything could go wrong, and there's so many ways to do multiplayer. So even though, in my opinion, Nova has the best multiplayer, there could be a completely separate way of doing multiplayer that could be just as good. But I do still want to talk about why Nova had the best multiplayer. First of all, there was no like lag or anything like that. I mean, obviously, if someone had a high ping, there was lag, but their connection would drop anyway. But there was no like lag backs, even if you had like 30 ping. There was nothing like lag backs like there is in Critical Ops. There was no, at least in my experience of like what 5 years of playing the game already. Wow, that's a lot. I haven't experienced any like BS hit registration. Like I felt like all of my shots did damage and hit the enemy. And yeah, I mean, there was no lag or anything like that. So that's one part. The other part is the balance. Even though there were little guns in the game, they still were all perfectly balanced. It's like in Counter-Strike. All the there's not a lot of guns, but those guns are super balanced, and that's what I felt like in Nova. There was always a way to counteract the gun. For example, the lightning, or the Zeus, I believe it was called, Zeus's hand or something like that. I don't know. It shot lightning, but it was very powerful at close range. But it couldn't shoot. Like it physically could not hit someone from like I believe 25 meters away. So if you backed up a bit, even though they would still shoot at you, but they would not hit you once, and you could just take them out with a sniper rifle. And then obviously the counter to a sniper rifle is to get close to them, and the counter to a rocket launcher is to jump up in the air and then shoot from above. So there's always a counter to a gun. And what I really liked is that you had like an armory, so you could pick and choose your class depending on the situation, which was really cool. And as well as there was a lot of variety in the maps. You had maps super close quarters like a warehouse, and then you had super open spaces like Scorched Earth, and then you had more of in the middle like Last Stand, which was set in old San Francisco. But again, the maps were just amazing. I mean, you didn't feel like when you joined a map like, oh, this is the same thing as that other map. Like I feel in Modern Combat 5, I feel like they're all generally the same. But there was no lack of content for multiplayer, and all the perks too. Wow, there were a lot of perks, and I felt like they all did something different. Like Snakebite had something different from Induced Muscle something. I have no idea what it was called, but yeah, one perk would let you run faster, but another perk would do like 7%. You had a 7% of dealing 20% damage, and as well as that, there was a variety in perks, but none of them felt overpowered. None of them felt like they would insta kill you or something like that. I want to go back to that snakebite thing. I believe it was 7% chance of doing 20% damage. That's like nothing. I mean, if you look at some other games, like in Blitz Brigade, you had like a 7% chance of doing a one-shot kill, which is stupid. But again, that's something for a different video if you guys want me to rant on like Blitz Brigade or something. But yeah, I mean, the perks were, they were perks. They weren't like, big game-changing things. They were just little perks that you could equip your soldier with, which was awesome in my opinion. And yeah, that's why I think multiplayer was good. And when you combine those two things, when you combine endless hours of multiplayer and a really strong campaign, you get this perfect game, really. I mean, there's no short of fun in Nova, and it took itself really seriously. If there was something that let's say they added like an ice cream cone in there, I mean, people would go crazy about that. There's no point in that. But I mean, and again, I want to go back on this. Nova was itself, even though it was kind of a ripoff of Nova, or I'm sorry, Halo. I felt like it was its own universe. I felt like it was its own franchise, and I felt like it was totally different, even though again that's what the developers were going for. But yeah, that is why Nova 3 is the best mobile game ever. And please tell me in the comments what you guys think. And this is for shooters. For racing, there's a whole nother, boatload of games I could talk about. But this is for shooters. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See ya.